which is jointly arranged by SGCCI and Surat. We welcome specially all speakers and key people from both the organizations. Panel of speakers who are women entrepreneurs shall enlighten us about women entrepreneurship is very much alive and growing in COVID-19 world crisis and also shall grow rapidly post-lockdown. Thai Pune always been a friend, philosopher and guide to Thai Surat since its inception last year. Secret which I would like to reveal here today is Thai Pune scheduled its ThaiCon on 17 and 18 April 2020, that's today. And many of us decided to be guests for Thai Pune and see the power of destiny and law of attraction. Thai Surat is together with two important personalities from Thai Pune via the in recent times, world noticed women leadership have saved millions of lives in various countries. Recent examples of Taiwan, Germany, and New Zealand are in front of us, where women state of head have taken innovative and timely preventive measures during last 2 months. In fact, IMF Chief Christine Lagarde once said, if Lehman Brothers had been Lehman sisters, today's economic crisis clearly would look quite different. We hope today's webinar can pave the way to rise of women entrepreneurs and startups in this part of country. There are many participants who look forward to get inspired from works carried out by our versatile speakers. Welcome again, Pratima ji, Vanna ji, and Prachi ji to this webinar. And now we request talented moderator from Surat, Surbhi Saxena, to take the charge from this point onwards. Over to Surbhi.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Sanjay ji. Thank you, Pratima, Vanna, and Prachi for accepting our invitation and joining for the event today. I would first like to start with the brief introduction of our eminent speakers that we have. We have Ms. Pratima Kirloskar with us, who is the President of Innovation Society. She is one of the founders of Thai Pune chapter. She is currently in the CII National Startup Council, invitee on the Executive Committee of FICCI Maharashtra State Council, on the Governing Council of the Indian Design Council, trustee on Pune Police Public School, Pratham Pune, and several NGOs working in the field of health and education for women and children. Other than running her own Vikas Charitable Trust, having a school, a primary health care center, she works with 40 schools around their factory in Kirloskarwadi. She was the co-chair of National CSR Committee of CII along with Mr. Mukund Rajan. She was on the governing council of Kirloskar Institute of Advanced Management Studies. She enjoys working with the weavers, especially using natural fabric, which she converts into table linen and home furnishing. She belongs to the respected Kirloskar family and is part of the promoter group of Kirloskar Brothers Limited, the 130-year-old a pride of India company. So, audience, it's engineering, textile, construction, education, and much more. Are you excited to hear from Pratima more? If yes, then please comment in the chat box that you are excited. Write in the chat box, excited. Lovely, lovely. Thank you for the responses. Our second speaker is Miss Vandana Saxena Puria, who is an award-winning serial entrepreneur famously known as the human alarm clock. She awakens organizations and people by positively disrupting their thought process and reigniting them to see a greater range of perspective. She is Order of British Empire, equivalent to UK Padma Shri. She is one of the top 100 UK influencer and a TEDx speaker. She is a chartered accountant by profession. Miss Vandana is a master storyteller and a curator who alters perspective through diversity, inclusion, and building people ecosystems. She believes be comfortable with being uncomfortable and be uncomfortable with being comfortable. That is what nurtures real growth. I think it is really very applicable in today's time. So audience, we are glad to have such amazing speakers with us today. क्या आप सभी इन्हें सुनना चाहते हैं? If yes, type in the chat box yes. We want to keep it an interactive session as this is a panel discussion. Please type in the chat box yes. Thank you for the responses. So, but wait, we have one more speaker, that is Ms. Prachi Jain, who is a director of Achieving Women Entrepreneurs AWE Funds, which focuses on gender lens impact investing. She has been spearheading their Indian operations. She has 12 plus years of experience in private equity industry and has thorough knowledge and experience of the life cycle of fund and 3 years of experience in private equity fund consulting and tax structuring. She has worked with funds like Yes Fund, SEEF India Agri Business Fund, and New Leaf Consumer Fund, and was part of financial services team of Ambit RSM, merged with PwC. Prachi is passionate about working for women empowerment and to create an ecosystem for gender lens investing. She has actively mentored women entrepreneurs across the sector and was part of evaluation committee and panelist for various cohorts and speaker at various events and webinars. Prachi is a chartered accountant, company secretary, and holds a law degree from Mumbai University. So, audience, who all among you all are startup enthusiasts and want to know what is going to happen in startup industry in 2020, please comment fast in chat box startup 2020 to let us know about your excitement. Write in startup 2020 in the chat box. So all three successful women entrepreneurs having deep knowledge in various industries are with us. I am really very excited to begin the session now. So my first question is to you, Pratima. Pratima, you are Western Regional Chair for all CII Family Business Network, and Surat is a hub of family businesses. What will be the success mantra of family-led businesses in entrepreneurship 2020?
Most family businesses and entrepreneurs possibly don't think the same way. Family businesses are there for the long run and entrepreneurs are there for the short run. So when an entrepreneur makes his entrepreneurship business into a family business where it exceeds more than 2 or 3 generations, I would consider that it's become a family business. But initially, when an entrepreneur joins, his main aim is to create something and exit. Now, that is a basic difference between entrepreneurs and family businesses. So what family businesses do is, since they are there for the long term, they procrastinate their profits sometimes, so that in the long run, you can sustain the company. I think that's going to be a very basic difference. So the aim is not always profit. The aim could be growth. The aim could be sustainability.
Very true. What are your views on this, Prachi and Vandana? Vandana, we will begin with you.
So yeah, I'd agree with Pratima on that. I mean, what I've seen of family businesses, that they take a much longer term view. I have some friends in the US that have got a family real estate business, and their agreement is they will never sell their properties, right? They will always rent them out, but they will never sell them. And it's gone through 2 generations, right? So as a result, what do? They really look after their properties, right? So I think in that respect, that's one of the advantages. I think one of the disadvantages has been, though, sometimes they're really set in, and this is not at all the Kirloskas. I have to tell you, I know Pratima and the family really well, and I'm amazed at what they do. But there are a number of other family businesses that don't like change and are quite patriarchal and hierarchical in their views, and therefore don't adjust to change very well. And I think that can be a challenge, which is why a number of family-run businesses might not make it past the next generation.
Okay. So, Prachi, what is your point of view on family-run businesses?
So I do agree with Pratima as well as what Bandana just said, but I think entrepreneurs really need to learn from family businesses. And the learning is that they really need to work on sustainable business model. I think what has been seen, I think, with a lot of these startups, they work only on growth models, not thinking about profitability or path to profitability, and they're burning every month. So the logic is, till the time you're getting the funding, you're able to survive. But once the funding stops, once that the funding amount stops pouring, then there's no savior. So I think there is a learning which these first league entrepreneurs should learn from the family businesses.
Thank you. So request all the attendees to please post your questions in the Q&A session if you have any. We will take them after the questions completed here. So I think to summarize your points, long-lasting business and sustainability is the key, will going to be the key points for entrepreneurship 2020 in 2020, the family-led businesses. My second question is to Vandana. You are famously known as a human alarm clock and work on building bridges within companies and individuals. What kind of emerging gaps can be expected inside businesses of various sectors in 2020, especially after the lockdown and COVID-19? How an entrepreneur should respond to it to succeed and to pass through?
So I think it's a really good question. So, what is it we need to know? And what I'm spending a lot of time with my clients on is two particular areas. The first is all around adaptability and flexibility. And the second is all about, and this, I'm using a Surat, something I know about Surat, right? You have diamonds, or you work with diamonds a lot. Your network is your diamond, your ultimate diamond. So these are the two areas that I'm working with them on. In terms of what entrepreneurs need to be able to really, really accelerate is their ability to be adaptable and flexible and have a flexible workforce. And unfortunately, that is going to mean that we can't always have everyone working for us. In good times, it's going to go up, and in bad times, it may go down. But if employees are aware of that, right, business is cyclical, and there's very, very few businesses that will not be cyclical in nature. So I think having adaptability and flexibility is really important. And what that means is you've always got to be thinking about a plan B and a plan C and possibly a complete pivot. And you have to adjust to new normals. So to give you some examples of just three that I know of, some of you may have seen the little video that came out this morning about a cardboard manufacturer who has come out with a really low cost bed that can be made out of cardboard, right? Wow. So, and it's so amazing the way they put it together, and they realized, hold on a minute, it's got to be hard. So they've collaborated with someone else to get a hardening agent. They also realized it had to be waterproof, so they've collaborated with someone else to make it waterproof. So they've come up with this design in India just within the last 10, 14 days, right? Moonshine Meadery, which is one of our mentees in Pune, they are a beer company, or mead. They make mead, which is like a beer which is made out of honey. Now, obviously, the alcohol industry has completely stopped. So what they realized was their bottling for the beer was the same as the bottling that's needed for sanitizers. So they've completely switched and pivoted their model to be making sanitizers, and they're now selling in to the government of Maharashtra. A third one, an app builder, a company that builds apps, has built a COVID app, which basically detects COVID. So the questions that you need to ask before somebody comes into a hospital. And it's now on the websites of Jahangir and Ruby Hall, which are the biggest hospitals in Pune. And they didn't do this by themselves, because this is where the network comes in. So first of all, they were agile, adaptable, and flexible. And then the next thing they did was they went to their network immediately and said, do you know anyone who's got the technology to help us do this? Do you know anyone within the Maharashtra government who can help us get in? Do you know anyone, et cetera, et cetera? So they're really using the network. So I'd say those are the two key things: agility in terms of adaptability and flexibility. And second, your network is your diamond.
Yeah, so my key learning from your points is agile, adaptability, flexibility, and be focused on your network always. Have a good relations with a good business relations in the network.
just keep asking, because if you don't ask, you won't get.
Very
That's
true.
the key.
Thank you. Prachi, my next question is to you, Prachi. So, how are private equity and VC industries is coping with this lockdown situation? And what are the initiatives which are being taken to support the portfolio companies by them and other agencies? Like startup are having the attitude of adaptability and flexibility, as Vandana mentioned. So, I think your point of view in this direction will help us know more about this. Prachi.
You're on mute.
Hello, Prachi, you are
Yeah,
on mute
yeah.
again. Prachi?
Yeah, sorry, I think I went on mute. Yeah, thanks, Surbi, for the question. So, Surbi, can you hear me?
Yeah, you are
Yeah.
audible.
Okay. So, yeah. Thanks for the question. Before I start, I just want to give some good and bad stuffs. So, IMF just estimated that the cumulative loss will be $9 trillion of GDP globally in 2021 and 22. However, IMF has stated that India may grow slowly at the rate of 1.9%, but pick up in 2022 at the rate of 7.4%. So that's good to know about. In terms of knowing about the startups and VCs, I think they're also entering a transition phase in this lockdown situation. And there are no exceptions to what's happening. And they are in kind of a dilemma. And they are actually on a double-edged sword where they really need to figure out issues with respect to LPs defaulting and the portfolio companies either are not able to sustain or survive in this crisis. Accordingly, I've divided VCs into three categories, which I will say, which are optimistically cautious VC. Second is opportunistic VC. And thirdly is extremely cautious VC. When I spoke about optimistically cautious VCs, these are primarily VCs which are trying their best and leaving no stone unturned to ensure that they are able to support their portfolio companies either by providing additional funding or by having them assistance through grants or loan facilities. The second VC category, which I define, is an opportunistic VC, which are thinking that this is an opportunity for them to make an investment. They are renegotiating their deals, lowering down their valuations, and they are working with existing companies, but not providing any additional funding of their own. The third category, which I believe is extremely cautious VCs, they are just waiting and watching, not doing anything. They're not even funding the deals which they're actually wanted to execute. So this is what is happening in the VCP industry.
So,
In
what
order
do
to
you
answer your questions pertaining, yeah, please go ahead, Surbia.
so what do you suggest? Startups should raise fund in this period, or they should wait for some time?
I think it's not about startups should raise fund. There should be VCs and Ps who are also eager to be able to give funding to them, right? So as I say, it's kind of a very difficult situation for everyone, because if my LPs default, then I cannot actually draw down and give monies to my portfolio companies. But I think at the same time, I believe there are a lot of good initiatives which are being taken by government. And I should point out that SIDBI, which is the largest financial institutions for SME, have announced loan facilities for both working capital and capex, and the approval is within 48 hours and with a 1-year moratorium period. Also, a lot of accelerators, incubators, a lot of large institutions are coming up with grant options for companies which are able to provide innovative solutions, product, service to fight COVID. So I think this is primarily the situation at the PVC level. And to answer your question with respect to whether they should get funding or they should apply for funding, I think I am not very sure how many VCs are able to do investments or to initiate investments right now. And secondly is that I think if they really need funding, they should look for an alternative options like going to government or the various schemes or various grants which are currently available for a lot of these companies.
Thank you, Prachi. We would like to know the situation at Pune scenario, because Pune is startup promoting city. So, Vandana and Pratima, we would like to take your feedback, starting with Pratima.
Okay, so I think when you see the companies on one side and individuals or entrepreneurs who want to plug in, there's certainly a lot of space here on a normal day. But today things are a bit difficult. So many times, there is a gap in the market, but sometimes there's a market in the gap. And I think that is where we need to be. So when you see pivoting that can happen, every industry can actually attempt to pivot. Because, when the government has shut down most of the country, it is opening up to those parts which can contribute to the COVID. So everything to do with COVID, they will open up. And that is an opportunity. If you have any machinery that can be used for any of the ingredients that COVID would require, whether it is for hospitals or across the board, then I think you have found a spot for yourself, even temporarily. So you can deviate from your original plan, be here for 3-4 months, and then go back, because they're expecting a spike in June and then another spike in November. But my guess is that this is going to be a very transitional period. And I think for 2 years, we are going to see some several changes that may happen. Now, for pivoting, you'll see most of the auto ancillary dealers and the manufacturers, they've gone into making ventilators. Why? Because the car wiper battery is a DC motor. It's a very tiny motor, and this can be used to make ventilators. Now, ventilators need small motors, so I think they've very quickly pivoted to making ventilators. And one of the companies in our nurture program that used to do disinfectants for sanitary towels is using the same system for disinfection, for creating disinfective zones, so they can spray like for the tunnel or for like sanitizers. So I think it's a nice quick pivot that they've been able to manage. So I think, there are no straightforward answers. Life is a buffet, and you need to go and fetch your own food.
Correct. So connecting with this, Pratima,
Can
there
I,
is another.
sorry, can I just answer back on what Prachi was talking about?
Yes,
just,
yes, please, Vanna.
The reason being is we've been running webinars at Thai Pune every week. We run 2 webinars, and I specifically got some people on because I'm in charge of working with our associate members. I got a couple of angel investors on, and we also had some feedback from VCs. And as Pratima said, right, if there's a business that has a sound business idea that is going to help at the moment, there is money available. And also the angel investors said that they have got money available and they are willing to deploy it. What they also said, or what Ganesh Natarajan said on this, was they will deploy it, but it will be at vastly lower valuations. So unless you've got something that is life-altering at the moment, which is like the examples that Pratima was talking about, that can really be used in a COVID situation, the chances are you're probably not going to get the best valuation. But there is money out there, especially on the angel side. But again, the VC side is very different because it depends on their LPs. So I just wanted to add that from a Pune perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Vanna. Actually, the angel point was missing. Yeah, please, Prachi, continue.
Right. Yeah. And I totally agree with Vandana, because I think VC has to follow a more structured approach. So what's lacking, even if I want to go and make an investment, I'm unable to conduct a due diligence exercise, and which is holding me back to just give money, because that is something.
I think we lost your audio, Prachi. Hello, Prachi.
Apologies, there's a bad network. So I'm sorry. So the point I'm trying to make is that all these things, these are practical issues which are holding us back. But yes, angel investors are someone which startups can approach, because they don't take the process. Processes are not lengthy as like for a VC and a PE. And if it's a good business, the business is pivoted, and it's something which is here to make a value, I think money is available. So yeah, thanks, Vanna, for bringing that point out.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing out that angel point of view, because that was missing in that initially. Thank you so much. So my another question, as the topic of pivot is going on, I wanted to ask you, Pratima, that you have worked closely with education, textile, construction, engineer, and many more core fields of India. In Surat, especially, we are having textile, diamond construction industries leading. So I wanted to know that how these businesses can pivot after lockdown, and what can be the opportunities and threat as per you.
I just told you that there could be a spike in June and again in November. That means that there are going to be so many people who would be admitted to hospital that there may not be enough beds. So we'll have to have lots of makeshift hospitals. So here's where construction industry comes in, because they have lots of apartments and buildings that are lying empty. If they are able to clean those up and keep them ready, the construction industry could use them as a temporary stopgap arrangement for hospitals, because it's a question of using it for just 1 or 2 months. Where textiles are concerned, many people in the textile industry are making PE suits, which doctors need to wear. You need masks and you need sheets. If you have hospitals which are makeshift, you need beds, so you need sheets, you need mattresses, you need everything that goes with those hospitals. In the education field, I feel since everything is shut down, we have this issue even in our own school. So we are moving everything to online. So that is where everything online, and I think many IT companies can participate in this space where everything will go offline, and we probably go back to our guide system where you work with your guide, meet him once a week, and everyday work is sent to you, and you have to keep filling up those charts. So I think that is the way to go, and that may just be a very convenient way to move on in life. I think it just might be there to stay, because we are talking of distance learning at one point.
Yeah, Vanna, we also discussed on this topic before we were having the discussion. I would like to welcome you to add your point here.
Okay for you to just have kind of one business model which is just focused on that one area? Because if that is the model you're going to have, if it's not geared towards medical industry or something that is needed for COVID, you are really